A scrapped sequel with Neytiri fighting the RDA in space, record-breaking underwater breath holds, and defeating sunlight with thousands of ping-pong balls. The Way of Water's behind-the-scenes stories are even crazier than the movie. Let's dive in. The scrapped sequel. Let's start with the most shocking of all. Before settling on the story of The Way of Water, James Cameron and his writers actually wrote an entirely different Avatar 2 script titled The High Ground. This 130-page script covered the events immediately after the first film. It included an RDA return attack on Pandora and an epic space battle, with Na'vi fighting humans in zero gravity. Cameron said it was a great read, with lots of cool action. However, he felt it lacked the unexpected element and the spiritual depth he wanted, so he scrapped it. Rather than throw it away completely, he turned The High Ground into a graphic novel series and published it in late 2022, helping to fill in the gaps between the first two films. This helps explain why The Way of Water feels so different from a typical sequel. Instead of picking up right after the first film's victory, Cameron jumps forward in time and shifts the focus to Jake's family and the oceans. By pivoting, he opens up new territory, the reef clans, a whole ocean culture, and the emotional stakes of watching the kids grow up. For fans who still want that missing chapter, the graphic novel series explores the path not taken, making this a rare case where a scrapped blockbuster storyline officially lives in another medium. And for Way of Water fans, it's fun to know how radically different the movie could have been. Early concepts even toyed with Neytiri heading into space. Now, that's something we will keep our fingers crossed for. Quaritch's Hamlet moment. In the first film, we see Colonel Miles Quaritch killed in action, courtesy of Neytiri's arrows. However, since his consciousness was backed up, he's able to return as a recombinant in the sequel. When awakened in his new Na'vi body, he and his team immediately resume their mission to take down Jake. While searching the 𝐏𝐚𝐳𝐼𝐴 rainforest, he stumbles upon the battlefield where he died. He finds his own skeleton and pointedly picks up the skull. In an overt nod to Shakespeare's Hamlet, he holds it aloft, like Hamlet mourning Yorick, before crushing it to dust. Hamlet is struck by the fragility of human life and the cruelty of fate. Quaritch, on the other hand, is a big blue alien on a revenge mission. Kate Winslet's 7-minute breath hold. Portraying Ronal, a pregnant freediving clan leader, required Kate Winslet to endure extended underwater performance capture sessions. Winslet went above and beyond by training in freediving and even managed to hold her breath for an astonishing 7 minutes and 14 seconds in one training session, as verified by the crew. This surpassed Tom Cruise's training record of 6 minutes set during Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. In a video showing Winslet as she finally resurfaces, her hilarious first words are, "Am I dead?" followed by immediately asking how long she lasted. Even though the film likely didn't need that long a shot, Winslet embraced the challenge and set a Hollywood record. This piece of trivia illustrates the intense dedication of the cast and the film's commitment to authenticity. Rather than relying solely on CGI, actors actually performed underwater. Winslet's feat, in particular, became a bragging point for the production. An impressed James Cameron feigned surprise, joking that Kate is not competitive at all. It also neatly ties back to Titanic. Winslet, who famously endured freezing waters on Cameron's set in 1997, now conquered a new water challenge. Next, Quaritch shows us another secret. You're still not in Kansas. Early in the film, Quaritch 2.0 repeats his own famous line from the first Avatar, "You are not in Kansas anymore." It's delivered to the same group of recon Marines as they prepare to re-enter Pandora. This line, originally a Wizard of Oz reference and used to toughen up new recruits, is resurrected almost verbatim. It's a cheeky continuity nod for fans, emphasizing how little Quaritch's gung-ho attitude has changed even if the context is ironic. It's also one of many self-referential moments that tie the sequel to the original film. A blink and you'll miss it cameo. As V1 Quaritch's pre-recorded message plays to explain the memory transfer process, corporate boss Parker Selfridge briefly appears in the background of the footage. He interjects to correct Quaritch on a detail, true to the character we remember. This brief cameo reminds us of the villain behind the villain, the corporate administrator of the RDA's Pandora operations, who was sidelined by the RDA's more gung-ho military elements. Though Selfridge isn't part of the main story, his presence in archival video maintains continuity. It's a rewarding Easter egg for attentive viewers and underscores that the same profit-driven bureaucracy still looms behind the military force on Pandora. Echoes of Titanic's sinking. In the climactic battle sequence, the Sea Dragon capsizes and begins to sink. The ship overturns and floods, leading to scenes reminiscent of Cameron's Titanic, roaring water pouring down corridors and stairwells, and our heroes navigating rising waters in confined spaces. Jake and 𝐿𝐼𝐧 struggle for air in a submerged compartment, and 𝐁𝐻𝐴TIRI and 𝐾𝐚𝐳𝐿 nearly drown as water surges around them. The cinematography features half-submerged camera placement, a signature Titanic style. This is Cameron paying homage to himself. The parallel intensifies the climax by using visuals that are familiar and thrilling to many fans. Beyond the Easter egg aspect, these callbacks underscore the Way of Water's themes of love, sacrifice, and desperation in a sinking ship scenario, emotionally aligning Jake and 𝐁𝐻𝐴TIRI's fight for their children with Jack and Rose's fight for survival on the Titanic. The next secret references another ocean-based movie classic, Pandora's Free Willy. Jake's second son, 𝐿𝐼𝐧, befriends an outcast tulkun named 𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐺, a giant whale-like creature, and their friendship becomes a major subplot. In the finale, the boy and whale duo team up, with 𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐺 decisively attacking the RDA ship to protect 𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐺 and the Na'vi. There's a strong parallel with Free Willy, a story of a boy freeing an oppressed orca. The boy and his whale trope emphasizes themes of empathy across species and the intelligence of Pandora's creatures, giving 𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐺's arc a familiar feel while adding a new twist. The whale doesn't just get freed, he becomes a warrior ally. The Free Willy reference offers a lighter parallel, but the next secret talks about a dark parallel. A massive RDA ship and smaller submersibles orchestrate a brutal chase, trapping a tulkun mother and calf. The hunters kill them and extract only a vial's worth of fluid from the adult's brain, leaving the rest of the enormous corpse to rot. This is an intentional allegory to the real-world exploitation of wildlife. It echoes how human colonizers and whalers slaughtered majestic animals for one profitable part, like killing whales for a few barrels of oil or hunting buffalo for hides, leaving most of the carcass unused. The film taps into that real-world atrocity to paint the RDA's actions as not just violent, but wasteful, immoral, and very upsetting. Very soon, we find out about Earth's quest for immortality. We learn that the substance extracted from tulkun brains, known as 𝐼𝐴𝐺, halts human aging. The RDA crew mentions a single vial is worth billions as a result. This implies that back on Earth, the wealthy are seeking literal immortality. Meanwhile, Earth is dying, overpopulated, and ravaged. The film doesn't explicitly spell out the connection, but context invites us to connect the dots. If rich humans can stop aging, population pressures and resource consumption would skyrocket. It's a dark extension of the film's critique of corporate greed. Not only will RDA strip Pandora of resources, they'll pervert the natural life-death cycle. It's a speculative angle, but it helps us understand why the RDA is obsessed with 𝐼𝐴𝐺. They're literally selling a chance to play God. Real ocean tech and sci-fi skin. The design and function of the RDA's underwater fleet was created by blending real aquatic life with cutting-edge submersible technology. For instance, the crab sub's multi-legged design and mechanical claws mirror real remotely operated underwater vehicles used in ocean research. James Cameron, an obsessive deep-sea explorer, infused the design with influences from his real-world submersible experiences. For Cameron, it's a signature touch, and by making the tech look familiar, he blurs the line between speculative future and present reality, which makes Avatar's environmental warnings hit closer to home. Sigourney Weaver becomes a teen again. Despite being in her 70s, Sigourney Weaver convincingly portrays a 14-year-old Na'vi girl, Kiri. Remarkably, her voice for Kiri was not digitally altered. It's her own, achieved through pure acting technique. To prepare, Weaver spent time with actual teenagers, auditing high school classes incognito to observe how Gen Z kids talk, move, and slouch. She even underwent the same rigorous physical training as the younger cast, including combat and freediving, reportedly holding her breath for over 6 minutes in training. Her transformation underscores the film's theme of rebirth in a meta way. Which brings us to Kiri as Pandora's Messiah. Kiri is introduced as Grace Augustine's daughter, born mysteriously from Grace's inert avatar, with no known father. Throughout the film, Kiri displays an extraordinary connection to Eywa and Pandora's life forms. She communes with the dead through Eywa and even saves her family by guiding glowing fish to light their escape path. These elements, a virgin birth, miraculous powers, communion with the planet's deity, are reminiscent of religious figures like Jesus Christ, and it's strongly suggested that she may even be Eywa incarnate. This adds depth to the saga's spiritual side and hints at Kiri's critical role in Pandora's future. Will she unite Na'vi and redeem humans in the future? What do you think about this? Let us know down below in the comments. Let's move on to the next secret: underwater sign language. It's no secret that an entirely new language was created for the Na'vi in the first film, but underwater they cannot speak. So whenever the Metkayina communicate underwater, they use their own sign language to communicate. That's right, another whole new language. Rather than just making up a few gestures on the fly, the filmmakers enlisted deaf actor and consultant C.J. Jones to create an entire Na'vi sign language known as NSL from scratch. Over 2 years, he developed around 150 unique signs to be used by the Reef clan, adapted for Na'vi anatomy and culture. The actors even learned this language for their underwater scenes, greatly adding to the authenticity. Speaking of authentic, Metkayina physiology. The reef-dwelling Metkayina clan aren't just blue Na'vi with tattoos, they have distinct physical adaptations for ocean life. Their skin tone is a greenish aqua. They sport thicker, paddle-like tails and broader forearms with extra muscle and fin-like skin for swimming. Even their chests and lungs appear larger, indicating higher lung capacity. These traits evolved to help them swim fast and hold breath longer in the water. In contrast, Jake's family from the forest are leaner, with narrower tails built for climbing trees. The film visually contrasts these when the children compare their hands and tails. The depth of Pandora's world-building remains immense. The Metkayina is not only believable as a culture distinct from the 𝐏𝐻𝐻𝐼𝐴, but it also feeds into the story with the Sully kids being labeled freaks for having 5 fingers and thinner tails. The physical differences emphasize that Pandora's peoples are diverse and have their own intraspecies biases, just like our own. The history within tribes. The Metkayina clan, led by Tonawari and Ronal, are hesitant to accept the forest-born Sully family. Over time, these groups overcome differences and unite, but not without early friction. These fears hint at a longer, more complicated history of clan conflicts and tensions. Avatar has always drawn from the history of colonization. Here, the film nods to how Native American tribes and other indigenous groups sometimes struggle to unify against a common invader due to long-standing internal conflicts. By showing clans initially at odds, Cameron avoids an overly romanticized all-Na'vi instantly band together trope and instead adds nuance. Unity is possible, but it must be earned by overcoming the past and prejudices. Acknowledging this reality makes the eventual alliance between forest and reef Na'vi all the more satisfying. The 4-year delay that fooled an actress. The Way of Water endured an infamously long production and post-production, with principal filming wrapping back in 2018. The gap between production and release was so long that Edie Falco, who plays General Ardmore, was convinced the film had quietly flopped. On a talk show in late 2022, she recalled asking in disbelief, "It didn't? It hasn't come out yet?" This anecdote shows just how drawn out the Avatar process is, and how obsessive Cameron is about every detail of post-production. Falco's candid confession got laughs, but also sympathy. Cameron even called her after the story went viral, laughing it off in light of the film's massive success. Defetishizing the gunplay. The Way of Water features plenty of weapons and battles, but also a shift in James Cameron's sensibilities. The director cut around 10 minutes of gunplay from The Way of Water in order to get rid of some of the ugliness and avoid fetishizing guns, especially given real-world gun violence. It's a surprising stance from a director whose classics, like the Terminator films and Aliens, are packed with iconic shootouts, but Cameron claimed that his move to New Zealand, where firearms are far less common, has given him a new perspective on Hollywood's relationship with guns. That shines through in the final battle, which, though intense, relies more on bows, creatures, and hand-to-hand fighting. Staying on James Cameron, let's look at some of his self-homages. The legendary director sneaks in numerous and humorous references to his own earlier movies. Here are a few notable examples. Firstly, the RDA's dropship deployment on Pandora, year 2170, resembles a scaled-up version of the Colonial Marines' drop in Aliens. Secondly, Jake has turned his kids into a trained guerrilla unit, addressing him as Sir. This recalls how Sarah Connor trained young John, a hardened parent preparing children for war. Next up, we have Neytiri's ferocious mother warrior persona, which recalls both Ripley in Aliens and Sarah in T2. Cameron has always loved a mama bear character, and Neytiri, screaming in rage to protect her kids, slots neatly into that lineage. Another fun parallel is that he even had Ripley metaphorically adopt Newt in Aliens, and Neytiri literally adopts Kiri and Spider. Then there's The Way of Water's final hostage showdown with Quaritch and Neytiri holding each other's children at knife point, an echo of scenes in Aliens and T2. In the latter, Sarah nearly kills Miles Dyson in front of his family, and in Aliens, Ripley threatens the Queen's eggs to negotiate the release of Newt. This time round, the Mexican standoff between multiple parents and children feels like an ultimate Cameron culmination of those themes. Last but not least, even hardware gets a nod. The AMP suits, which feature heavily in the first movie too, are seemingly a direct descendant of the power loader from Aliens. All these self-references offer a wink to fans and link the Way of Water to a larger Cameron-verse where threads of colonization, fiercely protective parents, and the conflict between nature and technology keep resurfacing. Cameron is clearly honoring and one-upping his old work. Everything is bigger. The dropships, the destruction, the stakes, but the emotional core of family and survival stays the same. Next, we have something bizarrely low-tech and probably the highest-tech movie of all time. How to block water reflections. There is a major technical challenge with underwater motion capture. The surface of the water reflects light, which confuses the infrared cameras that capture the actors' movements. Cameron's team solved this in a brilliantly basic way. They poured a layer of small white balls, about the size of ping pong balls, to create a 4 to 6 inch thick layer on the surface of the water. This ball pit cover broke up reflections and also acted as a light diffuser. When actors needed to surface, they could easily push through them. A similar solution had been used in 1989's The Abyss as well, with black beads used to create total darkness. For Way of Water, they used white balls to help light the primarily daytime scenes. This is a brilliant example of practical ingenuity. Rather than fixing everything digitally, they engineered a more camera-friendly filming environment. The floating balls allowed crystal-clear underwater capture of the actors' facial performances and motions. This trick shows the benefit of having a career's worth of experience to draw upon. Cameron riffing on one of his old innovations and upgrading it for Pandora. In an age of wall-to-wall CGI, it's refreshingly old school. And those are the hidden stories behind Avatar: The Way of Water. Which secret was your favorite? Drop it in the comments, leave a like if you learned something new, and don't forget, you're not in Kansas anymore, so you might as well subscribe.